welcome back to CommuniTea. This is our Thanksgiving edition, and today we're going to talk about the holiday and what it means to a diverse group of people.
Right.
Traditionally here, it supposedly celebrates what? Do you know what they teach kids at school?
That this is when the Pilgrims and the Indians got together to eat after they showed them how to grow and all of that, grow food together and all of that stuff.
Right.
So now we call them by their appropriate indigenous terms.
Right, instead of Indian.
And
unless they want to be referred to as that, which is fine.
Right. And now we know that many of them weren't friendly, weren't experiencing that as friendship and collaboration and all of that stuff.
And community and all the
Right.
things that supposedly Thanksgiving stands for. So
Yes.
if you all take the time, this is the homework for this, is to go look up the story of Squanto and really look at what happened. You know, he had gone to, I think, England, and when he came back, all of his people were gone. So he just resettled back in his lands, and then since he spoke English, he was able to kind of, you know, mingle with the Pilgrims or whatever, and just read about what happened there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But just let's talk about Thanksgiving in the context of niceness culture, right?
Yes.
So Native Americans were kind, and they gave freely of their knowledge, of their space. They shared their land. They opened up their doors to pilgrims and colonizers alike. Even though they saw, you know, horrific acts of violence and aggression because of racism, and because they thought, you know, a lot of colonizers thought we were subpar subhuman.
Right.
So they treated us like animals, basically. And so, despite all that, yes, right, we taught them how to grow corn. We taught them how to grow squash and how to kill turkeys, and eat them in a feast, because during this time of year, Native Americans in North America usually celebrate the harvest and the seeds. Right. You know, thanking Pachamama, as we call it in South American indigenous, the Mother Earth, for her gifts, which she's given to us, right? So we just allowed them to join into our celebration, what has now become a co-opted celebration of genocide. If you ask any Native or indigenous person, they'll tell you that for us, it's actually a very problematic and sad holiday, because we think about all of our fallen ancestors that fell to colonization, and this basic stolen property move, which they just moved in and took over and took our lands like they did to Squanto, and took advantage of our generosity and our kindness and our welcoming spirit, which is what Thanksgiving is about. So to me, Thanksgiving is about celebrating my ancestors and their generosity, spite the inhumane acts they suffered, to celebrate the seeds and Pachamama. But I do not
proceed to Collins Avenue, then turn left.
What just happened? Anyway, so that's what it is about for me. But this niceness culture is still pervasive, where like there's this thing where people think that niceness and justice are the same thing,
Right.
or niceness and equality is the same thing, and they ask us to continue to be nice, even though for centuries we have done nothing but be kind and loving and try pacifism. And obviously it still doesn't give us equality. We're still being colonized, we're still being murdered. Indigenous women are disappearing off reservations daily with no account for where they are, with no prosecution, because there's no policing in some of these reservations. They have no interest in our lives. We don't matter to them. We are still being thrown into spaces that are completely barren lands. They keep pushing us away, you know, into reservations, and mistreated. The other day, a Facebook friend of mine posted that somebody named their company, I think it was a pest control company. Yeah, because I think it was called Red Pest, and it was the face of an Indian. Wow. So we're still not human. And so I invite you all to connect with First Nations people during this holiday, and really try to understand what it really means to celebrate this holiday, what it means to actual indigenous people, what they feel during this holiday. But Alex, can you tell us a little bit about what you think the intersection is that to Black culture and Black American culture?
Well, you know, and I think, so what my point was going to be that I think it's important for us as we grow in this process of changing, becoming more inclusive, and identifying and respecting all our intersections of identity, we have to respect the fact that there are certain traditions, holidays, and things we're going to have to redefine. We're going to have to change for ourselves, because I know in Black culture, I know in Caribbean culture, that's migrated here, it is a time for all of us to spend together and be together as a family. It's the only holiday that I knew of, because it was my favorite growing up, that didn't center around gifts. It literally was around communing with others and sharing a meal, a laugh, and time together, and talking about what you're thankful for. But right now, it's important to recognize that there are many who are not thankful for where we are now in this country, and are not thankful for the history that is behind this holiday. So it is a time maybe of just reflection and redefining and finding a way to acknowledge the cruelties and the atrocities of the past, while still recognizing that we are here now and we have power and influence to change it, whether it's in just our daily activities or what we do. And I have some progressive family members who I think would be really open to making this more about, let's respect one another and respect the history of this land, because not all of us originated from here, obviously.
We are on stolen land.
And we're on stolen land, but let's recognize and give thanks to that, because I think that's something that's really important.
And I don't think, and I certainly don't speak for anybody indigenous, because, I'm still in the process of reconnecting and decolonizing, so I'm in no way, the voice for indigenous people. But what I have heard from a lot of First Nations folks is, it's not about taking away the meal or the time together, because we understand that in this capitalistic structure designed to keep us away, designed to keep us tired, designed to keep us away from our families, we have to grasp at every possible opportunity to be together and share a meal. So I don't think it's necessarily about taking the meal. It's about making it a celebration as opposed to a commemoration. I think that's what
I like that.
What it means for me. I'm, for the first time since I've migrated to America, for the first time I'm not having a Thanksgiving dinner this year, because I chose that for me and my family, we're going to be alternative about it, and I'll have a turkey dinner early December, because I still love my my food and sit around my around with my family, but that could just be a Sunday dinner. I don't want it to be this thing where we stop and have to remember this horrific moment in history. I'll celebrate the seeds some other time and in our own way, in our own space. But this Thanksgiving, I hope that you tune in, you listen to First Nations people, what they're saying, what they're doing, and be mindful of your posts on social media. Even when you're posting your dinner pictures or whatever, if you don't acknowledge anything about what this holiday really means, then what impact is that having on other people? Right. And if you were some of those people who were saying F Columbus on Columbus Day, but you're still celebrating Thanksgiving, there's a little disconnect there. So just think about that. Think about the impact of this holiday. And to all my First Nations people, my heart is with you. And it's hard not to get sentimental, because it is a very painful holiday to think about. And my heart is with you and all the pain that you're going through, because I know many of you are suffering the loss of sisters off of your reservations, because we talk about this often. We often talk about the pain that you suffer daily because of colonization, and the constant reminder that they've taken everything from you. And I recognize that I'm on Seminole land, and I appreciate that I am on Seminole land, and that I'm thankful for that. And if I owned my land, and if I had the ability to, I would give it back to the Seminoles, because that's what everybody should do. But we know that we don't want to give up our privilege, and that's the reality. But I do acknowledge that I am on stolen land, and that I am a guest here just like anybody else. But I want to honor all of you and thank you for continuing to be a beacon of what it means to be the earth protectors, what it means to be generous and open and welcoming and loving, because there's nothing more beautiful than tribal love and the way that tribes behave. I mean, if we would have learned anything about really existing and living in harmony, we should be looking at First Nations people and all of our tribes, and not just the tribes here in South America and Africa and all over the world. If we really look at all indigenous people, we have a lot to learn from them.
Yeah.
So thank you for your contributions.
Yeah, I want to remember it's not that these were the original nice people. It's a nation of folks who knew how to respect and honor their land, and in an attempt to teach others how to do that, it got ripped away. And so if you just think about it in that mindset, it'll change it. I think it'll change it for you. So let's learn how to honor and be respectful and consider what we have sacred. And that's what we should be thankful for, is thinking about what is sacred and how we truly honor our land and how we truly honor those who were here before us, for sure.
Yes, and honor this land, for sure. Yeah. That's something very important, because with climate change upon us, we have to learn from them, even just on that level.
Right.
So with that, we bid you adieu, and we hope that in this holiday season you enjoy time with your family.
Yeah.
But we also hope you reflect and take the time to commemorate those who fell to genocide and colonization, and remember them this holiday season.
Yeah.
And try every day to uplift their voices in all the spaces that you enter. So, have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.